Welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. Special show this week. I am joined by Stretch. Can I give your government name? No. No government name. Some of you may know him if you're in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area as Stretch on your radio. You've worked for 92Q in Baltimore, WKYS in D.C., and now on WHUR in D.C. as well. So welcome, Stretch.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'll give you a little history about us before we get into why he's actually here. Stretch and I go back to my days back in BET. So what I realized today, we're in his home. Thank you for allowing us to come in.
No problem. Thank you.
What I realized today is when I saw him, I said, "You are a giant." Me and Hills is under his underarm. And so I realized when we were at BET, you were always sitting in a chair.
I was always sitting down,
Editing, yes.
That's it.
Who knew?
Who knew?
And I didn't understand that they called you Stretch for a reason.
Right.
Because I told you I was moving back to D.C. and you were like, "Oh, well, here's my number. I think I might move back to D.C. and do radio."
Yeah, that's it.
And I didn't really realize. So I'm sitting on a pillow. That was the whole point of this. To say I can't be that short on my show. So
that's funny.
All right, now why you're here, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because I was thinking about the time that we've known each other. I think it's been a decade.
Yeah, about a decade.
Yeah, crazy. And I have seen such a major transformation for you, and not just like the overt would be physically, right? But honestly, spiritually as well, with the light that shines within.
Thank you.
And the consciousness that you have. And so for Stretch, I wanted to interview him because I think a lot of the things that we talk about on the podcast, right, is about being better or knowing more in some way. And for you, Stretch, you changed your life because I think looking at you, you wouldn't be able to tell you're a vegan.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's a Kappa. He on the radio. He smokes cigars. He kick it. This cat is a vegan. And I knew you back when you ate animals.
Right.
Yeah, you were eating animals. So I want to talk to you about the transition and not so much about why someone should be a vegan, but I want to talk about your life, specifically what led you to the path that you're on. What was the catalyst? Because I think that's important to talk about as well. And we'll get into the lifestyle.
Right.
Okay. So first, let's start with what was your catalyst first for eating better?
Well, I kind of guess you can say it was twofold because one, I'm a type 1 diabetic. And so although in my mind I thought I was doing the correct things as far as eating healthy and, you know, making sure that my meals were the correct amount of carbs, not too starchy, a lot of green vegetables, But as I was doing some more research, I was like, wait a minute, I really think I could probably affect my numbers a lot more as far as bringing my A1C down and I guess like losing weight that I was starting to pick up after, you know, once you get over 40. I'm over 40. So I was like, let me do some research on being a vegan and a vegetarian. And so as I was doing my research, I was realizing like maybe vegetarian isn't more so for me. Maybe the vegan aspect is because cutting the dairy was major. And so
the hardest.
That's the hardest, right? Yeah. And so like, although I wasn't, you know, drinking like cow's milk, I started doing that probably 15, 16 years ago. But it's still like the cheese and things of that nature.
That cheese.
The cheese.
I talk about it's a daily struggle. I gave up cheese. It's a daily struggle. Let me take you back just a bit. How old were you when you got diagnosed with diabetes?
Was a senior in college. I was 21 years old. Yeah.
Right.
So at that, and again, not knowing anything really about the disease other than old folks that I would see.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. That's what I know mostly is older folks.
Yeah, with no legs or, you know, or missing limbs.
And missing limbs,
or blind. And so I was very ignorant towards the disease. And it wasn't until I spoke to my endocrinologist at the time, I was like, wait a minute, you know, at that time I was still playing ball. I was like, am I going to lose my legs? It's like, no, you're fine. It's like, the thing about diabetes is a very manageable disease. If you manage to take care of it, then you'll be around. So, you know, older folks, they're setting their ways. And they're like, you know, I drank this sweet tea for 50 years. I'm going to keep drinking this sweet tea.
Right.
Next thing you know, they ain't got no legs.
Right.
So I had to get acclimated to the transition. You know, because a lot of people always assume if you're diabetic, that's because you eat candy.
They do assume that.
Yeah, the two have nothing to do with one another. You know, diabetes is an autoimmune deficiency. So basically, I probably carry the trait in my body for a long time, and it takes, you know, certain things to kind of make it, you know, I guess
activate that trait.
Yeah,
yeah,
so stress it definitely is one of the main things that could, and at that time, like I said, I was a senior in college, worrying about graduating and all that stuff like that, and some other things I was doing on campus at that time. But that, I'm sure, led to me finding out. Yes.
And so, are you, like, how do you manage it now? Is it mostly just diet, or do you use medication as well?
Well, yeah, I'm still an insulin dependent, and I have this thing what we call an insulin pump that I've had ever since. Oh God, probably like 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I use that along with another thing called a continuous glucose sensor, and so the sensor talks to the pump, and they work in tandem as far as like knowing how much insulin I need to have throughout the day. It lets me know when I'm going to go high. It lets me know when I'm going to go low, so I can counteract that. And and it's easy because a lot of people.
It's on your person.
It's on me, yeah. So it looks like a little pager.
Yeah.
And so as you can see now, like my blood sugars are 125, so that's good. And it kind of go through this whole thing, and it shows you how you go up and go down.
And this has been since you were in high school?
No, college.
College.
Yeah.
This has been since you were in college.
Yeah, but I didn't get on the pump until maybe like 2 years after I was diagnosed, because that's when I was still doing radio full time, and my schedule was all over the place. So I was working doing I was in Baltimore at 92Q hosting the Love Zone, so I was on the air from 10 at night till 2 in the morning.
Dude, that was you.
Yeah.
So funny. Sorry, you're like, I knew this dude before I knew this dude. All right, go ahead.
So my work schedule was so crazy, so they was like, well, it's probably best, instead of you just taking shots with the needles, let's put you on the pump. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
And then how did alcohol fit in? Because this what I want to talk to you about really is the diet and how it changes your lifestyle, friendships, and things like that. But it's difficult to take liquor, I would imagine, because that just breaks down into sugar.
Yeah, that's true. So, like, a lot of times, how can I put it? Like, I wouldn't say you shouldn't drink. I mean, you can still... This is just me personally.
I'm talking about, listen, you in the club, people buying bottles. I'm not talking about light drink. I'm talking about how DJs, radio personalities, send another bottle. Here's some firecrackers.
Right. I didn't do all that.
All right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I didn't do all that.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like I'm not really like a heavy drinker per se, as far as like hard liquor is concerned. I was a beer guy, so if I was going to drink a beer, like especially back in the day, I was like a Heineken and Corona guy. Very those beers have a lot of carbs in them. Yeah. So to counteract, you still have to take insulin for that. But I would also like carry like peanuts and stuff, because you eat something to kind of absorb the starch and the carbs for more or less. So
let's go back to BET for a second, because that's when I found out you were diabetic, and I was like, what? But you was eating meat, and I was like, all right, and I think when I met you was when I had, at that point, been maybe a vegetarian for about maybe 5 years. Maybe 4 years at that point. So I'm still kind of new.
Right.
But just the idea of changing your diet, because then it changes your lifestyle, right? So I want to talk to you about when you started transitioning to vegetarian to all the way to vegan. And so around how many years into being diagnosed did you actually make that transition to be a vegetarian?
Well, I actually didn't even go vegetarian. I went straight vegan.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I went straight vegan. I tried. Okay, so let's dabble on this. I tried to do like a little bit of vegetarian. And I was like, it's cool. I did that probably maybe like 12 years ago. Okay. And I wasn't like,
this is not for me.
It's not for me at this point in time. Not to say that, because I love my chicken and I love my fish. I stopped eating red meat and pork probably like 20 years ago.
Right. I think that's the first to give up on the road.
So I gave that up. I was like, I'm good on that. But
that chicken and turkey was tough.
Chicken, turkey,
how about you? From Maryland originally, right?
Right.
So crabs, wasn't that hard?
Yeah, I love my crabs. And it's funny too, because several years, probably like, I don't know, maybe about 10, 12 years ago too, I was with my endocrinologist at the time, and she was like, you might want to give up on crabs. I was like, what? She's like, because of a lot of things that they put in there, it elevates your blood sugars. Right. And you don't even know it. So I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So.
And I love crab, but I keep thinking they're the roaches of the sea. They are. Shrimp I love too, and I'm like, it's the roach of the sea.
Yeah, because they're at the bottom.
And they eat, right.
Yeah, whatever's
the
down
garbage.
there.
Yeah.
The roaches in the sea.
You never heard this is real bad, but I have to say these things to try to like be healthier, because the truth is, if things were healthier in our ocean, right? We could eat more, and if the food in America was healthier, we could eat more.
Exactly, but I mean,
it's not.
That's another tangent to go.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about that transition of now you're like still hosting parties. I see you on the gram.
Oh, thank you.
And this summer just passed. We're still kind of in it. And can I tell you the hardest thing for those of you that aren't vegetarian or vegan? The hardest thing is when you get invited to a cookout or a picnic.
Yeah.
It is, you're either going to starve if you don't eat before you come or bring your own food.
And it's funny that you bring that up, because like my line brothers, they always have like, big sort of like barbecues at their house, right? And so they always make fun of me. They're like, "Whoa, Stretch coming with them, plastic burgers and all that other stuff." But I'm gonna bring my own food. So like I'll bring like Beyond Meat burgers. I love those burgers.
Those are good because they're no soy.
Yeah, all pea protein.
Do you know about you like pea protein? Do you know about Fieldhouse?
Yeah.
I like those Fieldhouse too.
Fieldhouse sausages.
It's so good. The sausages.
Man, that apple.
Yes, I just got that.
Man.
All right, sorry, get a little excited.
With some grits on there.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, how you doing with the grits? Okay. Yeah. Just okay. I see you, and a lot of times you think, because for me, when I don't know if you had this thought. Please don't be offended, but I had this thought a lot of times, because when I would meet vegetarians before I was a vegetarian, for me it was dietary as well.
Right.
My grandmother at the time, what was my catalyst was my grandmother had a heart attack.
Right.
And the doctor said to her, now that you have a heart attack, you are, I think it was like over 50% more likely to get cancer. That's actually what she got and how she died. But they said everything that you could then have is increased once you have this heart attack. And so then, thinking about like going to the doctor, I realized that all these things, diabetes, hypertension, she had all those, hypertension, diabetes, heart attack, all these things are hereditary or dietary.
Right.
And if they're hereditary, they could be exacerbated by your diet.
Right.
And so at the time I was in my 20s, and I was thinking to myself, if I can eat healthier now, it's going to help me when I get older.
Exactly.
So if I just eliminate these things now. And it was hard, man, because I was on the road show, BT the road show. We were doing this college game show of lots of schools in the South, like Alabama, man, everywhere.
Number like
yo, I was like, how is there bacon in the corn? Like, oh man, it was tough. It was really, really tough. But I also thought at that time that vegetarians were weird. I thought they stank. Don't be offended. Did you think that? No. I was like, maybe they're stinky, and like I mean, I might have met some weird cats. Right, because sometimes they don't really use. They're all the way healthy, and I'm that way now. So if you smell me, let me know. But I don't use antiperspirant anymore since I became a mom.
Right.
I would use a deodorant, but not antiperspirant, right? So a lot of times these vegetarians and vegans are on this all natural stuff, and you're like, is that natural musk? And so I didn't know. I'm like, are you using real toothpaste? Like, what's happening?
They smell like they're European.
Right. And now that I'm older, that's literally like the life that I'm living now. Just realizing like fluoride is not that healthy for you, and all these things that if I kind of eliminate them, I can start lowering my chance of getting cancer because of the history of my family. But the part that people don't really talk about is the social aspect. Especially we're in a culture where people make fun of us. It's not like if we were like in India, nobody's tripping. I can hang out with my Indian friends and say, I'm vegetarian or I'm plant-based, and okay, and then they'll just give me something. It's no big deal. But our family in the South, and for years, it was like, you're the butt of the joke. Right.
But I think now, because we now, socially, being a vegan and a vegetarian is like the hot thing. It's like, we're riding the wave now, because everybody wants to become more plant-based. And being that we live in the district, in the DMV, we're in a progressive area where you see a lot more options. There are a lot of great restaurants that are opening up, and then also there's so many different groups that people can join. from via Facebook or Instagram, where
you kind of
that you kind of build a community, and you have like individuals that you can relate to and catch up with as far as like, oh, have you tried this, or how about doing this, and things of that nature. So I look at it from the standpoint of it, I don't see it as being isolated anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff.
I should have waited then, so I could have been on the not isolated time. Man, it was tough.
Yeah, I can believe
but,
it.
But I also am not a big group joiner, and not that's not a good idea, but I don't think I'm a big group joiner. Nope, I'm not. But it's good to have that resource to put it out there for anybody that's thinking of making that transition. Because really what I wanted this show to be helpful for is to kind of, for anybody that may still have old ideas about what a vegan looks like. Because a lot of people think if you're vegan, you're skinny. They think that if you're a vegetarian, you're just eating grass all day, right. Lettuce all day. And that's not really true.
It's not true because, you have folks that are, how can I put it, fast food vegans. So, like, they'll continue to go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever the case may be and get fries. Or they're constantly just eating a lot of starches, breads, and things of that nature like that. So, and they're not going to the gym. So you're just like, although
they're not right.
Yeah, you may eat a huge salad, but if you're following that salad up with dobs of dressing or some fries after that, and then you're just sitting back chilling, you're gonna get big.
I'm laughing. That's my first vegetarian meal. Would be like, let me just a salad and some fries.
Yeah.
Right. But even, sorry, you just made me laugh. I'm like, you're making fun of my lifestyle. When I first started, man, I'll be cheese fries. I know. I'm trying to get off these.
Trust me,
cheese.
I was the same way too because when I first decided to go vegan, I went cold turkey, and I didn't know anything. I was just like, well, I'm diabetic. I still have to get my vegetables, but I'm gonna eat these fries because it's
readily available.
It's readily available. So I was just eating fries constantly. I would just like stop at Chick-fil-A, get a big thing of fries, ketchup. I'm good to go. But then I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting fat.
Sugar on sugar.
Yeah.
Right.
And my blood sugars was going up.
Yeah.
And then I started, even though I'm thin, but I was starting to get like that, fat belly. You have to send me 35 cents a day or something like that. One of those. You remember those commercials?
No,
like,
what is
35
that?
cents a day can save a little kid. And
Oh my gosh!
You see the kid sitting there like a little fly in his eye and stuff. I'm sorry, but yeah, I was starting to look like that kid.
Oh, that's terrible. Yes, terrible. Oh Lord, don't strike us down in this man's home. Like my equipment go out. So anyway, we're gonna pause that. What I was going to say, you did remind me of my thought, and it was is that a lot of times you could look at a person and they look so healthy. Because when I saw you at work, I would never think, you had diabetes or that you were unhealthy. And to see that transition, where you can see that you are actually healthier. You are actually, I'm sure, more energetic. I'm sure that, because for me, the one thing I noticed, and I heard Common mention this, this at the time I was a vegan. He was on the radio talking about vegetarian. He was talking about being a vegetarian. And you know what he described? And it literally, I was like, Common, that's happened to me. Like, I'm in the car, like, it happened to me. But he said, it's hard to explain, but like, you see colors more vivid. And I remember being like, when he said it, I remember that happened because it felt like, it was like the world was more vivid than it had ever been. Right. Has that happened to you?
I think,
where you're like, my perception of reality is more crisp and vivid.
Yeah, because I think after you, some time after all those like toxins get out of your system, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then you're eating cleaner and fresher and things of that nature. It's like, wow, okay, your skin changes.
It does.
Yeah, your skin. Yeah, you do see a little. Well, to me, I saw.
You still wear glasses.
Yeah,
but still, it's probably better. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to explain it. But when he described it, he was like, his description was what I felt I saw, and he said, it's kind of like colors are brighter.
Right.
And to me, I remember waking up and that being every day. And because it was so close to when it hadn't been, I could see that it was like a real consistent change.
Right.
So, just to, let you guys know and think about that idea of your body where you can look so healthy, but internally be in crisis, have a very, your body's in shock.
Yeah, because a lot of times, that's the whole thing about it, because people realize, like, okay, I look healthy on the outside, but you never know what's going on in the inside until you go to the doctor and they're like, hey, you need to work on this, work on that. But to me, going vegan is probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I was contemplating whether or not I was going to become a pescatarian. Because I was like, oh man, I sure could go for some salmon. But now I was like, nah, I'm good. Because it's funny, because like we talked about this too. Like I made this dish because I was jonesing for fish. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this
saltfish. Was that dish?
Yeah. And just using like harder palms to substitute for the fish.
Wow.
It's the same to me. I enjoyed it.
So, speaking of that, I'm looking forward to that. What we're also going to do is something a little bit different. This is something that you do on your Instagram. He's chefing it up. Do your song.
Chefing it up with your boy Stretch. Chefing it up.
I love that. So, what we're going to do is he's going to make a recipe. And so, if you guys are interested to try it. So, what are we going to make?
We're going to do a vegan Reuben sandwich. And we're going to do some coleslaw.
Nice. Yeah. So we're going to do some editing magic. You're going to see him chefing it up. But before we do that, I want to ask, what has been the biggest challenge with being vegan? And then you said being vegan was a big reward, but specifically, what's the biggest reward? So the biggest challenge first.
Biggest challenge, I think, is kind of finding, well, not really. I take that back, because now it's so easy to find meals. I think the biggest challenge is probably just taking the time to prepare your meals, because people have to understand it's not where you can just run out and get some fast food or anything like that. Like, you really have to take some time to prepare your meals, and you're eating fresh, so you're eating things daily. So those days where, and it's funny because now I think about when I was a kid and going to the store with my mom, and you go to the store and she would just load up the cart with just stuff
in boxes.
Yeah, you like, what's eating all this? But now I go to the store. I may go to the store every day.
Okay,
just for the ingredients that I need for that day.
I'm once a week.
Yeah. I think the biggest reward as far as going vegan is just adding years onto my life. I mean,
that's right.
And to me, that's enough in itself.
The main thing is whatever you choose to do, whether it's eat meat, whether it's be a vegetarian or a vegan, but that you are consciously making a decision to add more years to your life.
Right.
So whatever, not saying that vegetarian is the only way, but in his life, for him, vegan is the best way for his condition.
Right. And you think about it too, because a lot of times you'll meet somebody and say, for instance, they are, a carnivore or whatever the case may be. With you being in their life, slowly but surely they'll take on some of your traits. They may go meatless 2 or 3 times out of the week, which is cool. So,
last story. That is my world. So when I started dating my husband, he would eat meat. His family's West Indian, so all meat. And I was vegetarian. So I became pregnant, and I was having terrible morning sickness. Like, it was month 5. Still, I was just walking the room, throw up. And I have a friend, and she was like, look, Danella, that baby needs fat and protein. And so she was like, if you're not getting it from your vegetables, you need to eat some meat. And so I was really like, I mean, what? And it had been so many years. And so I told my husband, I said, just give me a turkey sandwich. Because back in the day, I used to like turkey. I should ask him if we have the film and put it on this podcast. But, like, I'm crying. I'm like at the table, I'm like, and I'm eating it, and he was like, tastes good, don't it? And he's like, look, baby, he's like doing it for our son. He's like, look what mommy's doing for you. And I was like, it's good. But Stretch, when I tell you that was the last time I threw up, I had turkey chili, never threw up again. Wow. And I had been eating salad and Rice Krispies, all these kind of like any kind of thing, bread, everything. For 5 months, every day.
Wow.
Throw up. It was walk into the room, throw up. As soon as I started eating that meat, then it went away. And I actually saw, Egypt. You remember Egypt? I heard she was on BET with us.
Yeah.
So she put that on Instagram this week.
And
I started to comment under it, but I just didn't. But I remember I wanted to say, "Girl, me too," and that's what happens. Because she's like, "Don't judge me, but I have to give up this vegan right now for this baby." And it's true. Whatever your body feels that it needs, you have to give it.
Because your body's craving, you know. And, you got to do what you have to do, in order to help your baby. Yeah.
Well, now my husband is like, "You still eating that cheese?" And it pisses me off because I'm like, "Dude, you was eating bacon. He was all up on swine steak." And now he's like, "No eggs in the house." I'm like, "Oh, bye eggs." And he's like, "I don't buy cheese in the house." But I'm telling you, it's judgment central. So you're right. Your healthy lifestyle can help your partner be healthier. And then your partner's like super healthy judging you.
So you sit in the car and be hiding out eating cheese and crackers?
Yes. I eat them at friends' house. I literally, anytime I'm out, I sneak food. Yes. It's like judgment central. Oh my God. Because it makes it not good. It doesn't taste good. It does not taste good. And I do not like it. And I know he would probably say, "Do you?" But it's like, I can't do me when you sitting like this, like, "You still on that cheese?"
Oh, that's funny.
Y'all just gonna eat those crabs like that?
I can see you now rolling up in the Costco talking about, "Y'all got any cheese samples today?"
I am. That's what's in Costco. I'm like, I'll go get the paper towels.
Who got that cheese? Who got that cheese? Who got that cheese?
I don't even care what it is. I'm trying to quit it. It's so bad. It is a bad addiction. Yeah. And I know it's addictive. Cheese is addictive, physically addictive. Yeah. So it's like I know it, but...
And it's funny too, like when I... a lot of people always say, "Oh, you went vegan because you watched What the Health." That played a part into it. Mm-hmm. But as I was watching that, and I did doing more research based off of what the dude was talking about. And he's like, a lot of times people don't realize that the onset of diabetes is caused from dairy, the mucus, all that other stuff that they.
And this sad guy gave up the milk. I've been off milk.
Yeah, I can't. And I stopped drinking milk until it was like one time. I believe I was, I don't know, maybe like 18 or something like that. I'm drinking, and you get
that film in your throat.
I said, "Yo, that's it. I'm done."
Me too.
Because
it's so gross. Yeah. And people love it. I cannot take it. It's disgusting.
See, I was going to say some nasty stuff, but...
No, that's fair. All right, so on that note, we're going to get in this kitchen. We're going to make some vegan Reuben.
Yeah.
And I had given up beef when I was in ninth grade. Mm-hmm. So I never had a Reuben.
For real?
No, I've never had a Reuben.
All right.
So we'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys. It'll literally be 1 second, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the kitchen. All right, now we are in the kitchen where it all goes down.
Yes.
All right.
So, people will want to know about this hat. This is my hat.
His chef hat.
My hat. Because we're
shoving it up.
What you boys drink?
Shoving it up.
So,
with your boy Stretch. Okay, yes, what do we have? We have to show the people. Can I touch this? It's too hot?
No, it's not hot at all.
So you toasted some bread.
Yeah, so we got some rye bread, some Jewish rye bread.
Nice.
To be exact.
Okay.
We're cutting some Monterey Jack cheese slices. This is the diet cheese.
Vegan cheese.
Yeah, vegan cheese.
Vegan cheese. And then let me see what's over here on the stove. Okay, and this, let me bring it closer because our camera man is us.
Yeah.
Okay, so tempeh, and you have marinated it in what? It looks so crazy.
All right, so in the tempeh marinade, we have apple cider vinegar, Bragg's amino acids, put a little bit of smoked paprika.
That's good.
Shout out to Trader Joe's. One thing I've been looking to use, liquid smoke. So that's the $1,000 dressing. So the $1,000 dressing is just vegan mayo, relish, and ketchup.
Okay, so basically saute some tempeh.
Right.
Then we cut up some cheese. We have our toasted bread because we're fancy like that.
Right. And it's going to go in the oven.
Oh.
So set your oven for like
400.
Yeah, about 400 degrees.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do is we're going to melt the cheese on top of the tempeh.
Ta-da!
There it is.
That actually looks good. What if it's terrible?
Tell me it's good anyway.
Alright, here we go. My vegan sauerkraut and Reuben. That's really good.
Yeah.
I don't even like sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut sets it off.
Wow.
I love sauerkraut.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my god, it's so moist. Okay. Recipe for you. You guys will see it. We'll post the recipe. Follow Stretch online
at Stretch G on Instagram. Also Stretch Garrett on Twitter.
Nice. Anything else you want to let people know before we go?
Yeah. Be sure to listen to me Sundays 3 to 7 on 96.3 WHUR. You can download us on your mobile app.
Good.
Get it in the App Store, or you can just tune in if you're in the area.
I'll tune in.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, man, thank you.
This was really good.
I appreciate it.
Ladies, he's single.
Word up. Where's my hat?
Where your hat?
Yes.
What, a hat?
Because if you,
right.
You need a man like this. You shuffle it up. What your boys dress? Shuffle it up.
Thanks, Stretch.
You're welcome.